Oh shit. Here we go again.
Hello YouTube, it is I, the Amazing Kitty Azotus, with another video. And today I'm going to be talking about, about why gamers or people who identify as gamers are not more likely to be racist and sexist. Without further ado, let's get to this Washington Compost article. So we can just read here. People who identify as, wait for it, gamers are more likely to be racist and sexist and homophobic and misogynistic, and we gotta point it all out. I just had to throw that in there. And transphobic. And we gotta point it all out. We got to throw transphobic in there. And fatphobic. And any other kind of phobia that the lying media likes to throw out at people. So without further ado, let's continue this really stupid it's already stupid because, you know, it's a trend to shit on gamers. There's always been a trend to shit on gamers. They were doing it back in the fucking 90s during the Satanic Panic. They were doing it back in the 90s with the Satanic Panic. With the butt end of the Satanic Panic. And even during the Satanic Panic, they're like saying, oh, video games are a gateway to human sacrifice and mass murder. I mean, they were saying this shit back in the 90s. And let's get back to this and get away from my rant. A new study that was released last Wednesday revealed that people who identify as, wait for it, gamers. I have to do that every time we see a quotation in quotes. Are more likely to exhibit wait for it, extreme behaviors. Extreme behaviors. I gotta do it right. Such as racism, sexism, homophobia, homophobia, racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia. Just gotta do it. You have to say it. And and like Anita Sarkeesian, they gotta point it all out. So this new study reveals that gamers are more likely to exhibit extreme behaviors such as racism and sexism, homophobia and transphobia. Well, toxicity and radicalization has long been associated with gaming culture. The study released last week by Take This, a non-profit mental health organization with the gaming industry and community, showed just how easily gamer identity can take over a person's life, and where that can lead. When the gamer identity is core to who you are as a person, that seems to reflect what we call toxic gamer culture. tends to reflect more exclusion than inclusion. So things like racism and sexism, transphobia, and homophobia, misogyny. Research director Rachel Cowart told Vice Media, all these things that we know exist in gaming spaces seem to be internalized by those who very closely identify as being a part of that community, Cowart said. In 2019, it was revealed by the Anti-Defamation League. That's what I think of the Anti-Defamation League. That 1 in 10 young gamers between the ages of 13 and 17 had been exposed to white supremacist ideology. According to the ADL, far-right extremists use gaming communities as a hunting ground. Communities such as Steam and Discord are allegedly popular with white supremacists. To take this study, which examined the attitudes of more than 300 American video gamers, looked closely at the pros and cons of life inside these communities. Gamers' communities represent a double-edged sword, the study noted. On the one hand, they may provide a sense of connection and purpose for individuals who suffer from loneliness and insecurity. On the other hand, they may expose gamers to hate speech and toxicity that can increase that susceptibility to extreme propaganda. In the worst case scenario, gamers may be lured into embracing extremist beliefs that lead them down the path to radicalization, said researchers continued. Actually, I personally think politics does more radicalization of people than the video game communities. Like, sure, they may exist in those spaces, kind of like pedophiles exist in almost every space. You know, they may exist. I'm not going to say they don't exist, but I really see gaming communities being beyond being like the least extreme. It isn't like left wing or right wing politics. I find extremists more in the political spaces, but that we never hear the Washington fucking compost ever talk about, because they're left wing establishment. They don't give a flying fuck about the news. They just they're mostly just clickbait. They're mostly fucking clickbait. And this is mostly clickbait, in my opinion. You know, the definition of gamer has been the subject of heated and sometimes toxic debate. For some, the term applies to those who play video games on PCs. Can also apply to people playing on like consoles. Because I also have a Nintendo Switch. So I also own the Nintendo Switch. And I had to show you. And I also happen to have, if you ever wanted to see, I also happen to have let's see if I can show you this. An Xbox 360. I'm one of the few people that probably still owns an Xbox 360, and I also own an Xbox One, the fat model with the annoying power brick. So, and you can see that old Pentium MMX laptop in the background, and also an old desktop that I've already finished getting this thing to work. And I will show this thing off in a video at some point. And I've also got like a computer down there that I've got to get a power supply for. So I might be turning that into a Linux box. Put this back up here. So I'm probably the ultimate gamer because I have multiple systems that I can play games on. And let's just get back to the video. Not bragging, just showing how gamers how that doesn't necessarily have to apply to PC gamers. You can see I'm primarily a PC gamer, and more specifically a retro gamer. And let's just get back to the article. While others means people who play. Well, we would actually use the term PC gamer if we were talking about people who play video games. I find it laughable when they call PC Master Race a bigoted. It was a joke. It started out as a joke, from what I remember from the history of that term. It started out as a joke. Coward says that issues begin rise when the gamer starts to merge their normal identity with their gamer one. A process called identity fusion. Forgot to do it. Identity fusion. We have individual identities and social identities. So I am Rachel. I am a female. And by the way, if you say those things and you say you're against gender identity, you're not against gender identity. Because you're using gender identity. Just had to throw that one in there. Because that is actually true. And I am a gamer. I love The Witcher. These are my social identities and are separate, said Cowart. Identity fusion is when the social identity, the individual identity, fuses together and you can't tear them apart. The way in which fusion is shown to develop makes them more susceptible to more extreme behaviors, she said. Again, I see more of that on the right and the left. I see that more in politics. I see that more of a problem in politics. It's one of the reasons why I've been like an advocate of Indian monistic metaphysics, because things like this teach is that this teaches to look beyond the physical, to look beyond the psychophysical, and to see that there is more to you than all these things that you think are you. Like your identity, like your see, anyone ever says this is bigoted, that this philosophy is bigoted, has no knowledge of this, has a lack of understanding of this particular philosophy. That that this that this that the Upanishads and the wider Vedas talk about. Things like the Bhagavad Gita talk about talk about many things having to do with the understanding of the nature of self and the nature of reality and things in this world. And I wish that many people would read this, would read these, because if they would read these, they might understand that there's probably, it might give them something to think about. That there really is not a distinction. There's really more beyond the man's world of distinctions, which is mostly the realm of the psychophysical, i.e., persona, i.e., identity, which is of which the politicization of identity, i.e., identity politics. There's a more of a bigger problem with identity than there is with identity. No, with identifying as a gamer, in my opinion. I see more stuff within the political realm be more divisive to people. Now let's continue with this. But I would highly recommend you read this. This is a good read. The Bhagavad Gita is a very good read. And the Upanishads and the wider Vedas. Very interesting works written by ancient people that were far ahead of their time in what they were talking about. And it's just, and I have another book that I would recommend people read on the subject, since we're on this subject of Eastern, the Tao Te Ching. This is an extremely good book. It's a very small book. It's a very small, and you just take it with you. It's about the size of. It's about the size of this. It is the King James Apocrypha. This is actually another one if you're really interested in interest in the history of the Bible. But this one's a little off topic. We're getting a little off topic with the other stuff as well. But let's return. There's also another copy of the Bhagavad Gita that I have. I have another book, the Dhammapada, another good read. Actually, I have all three of his translations. His translations of those works. And let's get back to the article. You know, communities such as Steam and Discord are allegedly fertile ground for white supremacists. Well, how is that? Study found that the players of Call of Duty were more likely to be racist and misogynistic and homophobic and transphobic than those who played Minecraft. Or is it that people just use profanity and slurs? Like the use of slurs and profanity does not mean that someone's a racist. Doesn't mean that they're a racist or a sexist or homophobic. It is, people might just say those things because they just don't have better words to use. it, this can vary across communities depending on what kind of people that you are spending a lot of your time with, said cohort. I don't think it's necessarily about content, but about the community in which you're being immersed in. The cohort also advised not to read too heavily into the study, said that the topic of video games has long been sensationalized by the media, and that she worries her research will be taken out of context. I think that gamers are wonderful. Games are wonderful places that have more positive things to offer than negative things across the board, she said.